Hello, explorers. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Amanda Vallone, and I am one of the owners of Roseborough Travel Agency. We are celebrating 56 years in business this month. We are so excited. And in celebration of our anniversary, because why not celebrate? We are talking about upcoming group trips, exciting new adventures that we can take. And we have an amazing presenter today. And we are going to be talking about a trip on the Amazon. So now that I see all of you are in, I'm going to go ahead and invite Preston Cadell from Swan Hellenic to start telling us about this amazing trip that we have coming up. And he's going to share with you from his experience and his brand, Swan Hellenic, all of the amazing adventures that are to come. So, Preston, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and let you take it away.
Thank you, Amanda, and good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak with you today and present Swan Hellenic and the Amazon. So I'm excited about this because when I went to the Amazon last time, it was actually as a tour manager on an expedition ship. And it was one of my favorite tropical expeditions I've ever taken. It's an incredible region, completely unique. And I don't actually get to talk about it all that often. So I am really psyched to be able to do that today. So my name is Preston Cadell, and I am a sales director for Swan Hellenic. I work with Amanda and her team, as well as a lot of other travel partners. So for a very quick background, I used to work on expedition ships as a tour manager, and I fell in love with this style of travel. And I decided that when my ship career was over, I wanted to continue to promote expeditions in a sales capacity. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I love it. It's definitely something that you get addicted to because it's such a unique, immersive experience. It's so different from traditional cruising, but it has a lot of the same types of comforts. It really is the best of both worlds. And expedition ships allow you to travel to places that you just would not think of ever going to, just because of its inaccessibility. So if you're an expedition cruiser, you get a chance to see things that 99% of the world will never visit. So that's why I decided to jump into it. So I just want to give you a very quick snapshot of Swan Hellenic just to tell you a little bit about who we are as a company. So we're considered to be a legacy expedition brand. We've been around for a long time, since the 1950s. We started off as a British tour company, and over the subsequent years, we evolved into a premier expedition company. And in 2020, we were acquired by a private investment group. They are based in Monaco, and they decided that the time was here to modernize. Expedition ships back in the day used to be older retrofitted vessels. So they can take you to amazing places like the Amazon, but you had to sacrifice a little bit of onboard comfort to do that, just because the ships weren't designed originally as cruise vessels. But that's certainly not the case anymore. Modern expedition ships are not just able to get you to great places, they are absolutely beautiful with great service and food. We decided it was time to modernize. And that's exactly what we did. We built a brand new fleet, and I will show you that in a moment. But first, I want to show you a video about our adventures in Latin America, just to give you a better idea of what the ships look like, where we sail to, the experience of an expedition, and then I'll add a little bit of context after the video. Enjoy. So that's a little preview of what you can expect on your journey, and it really is that spectacular. So definitely something worth exploring. And I'm glad to give you a little bit more context about it as soon as the video moves to the next. Sorry, bear with me just one moment because for some reason my PowerPoint does not want to move forward. So sorry, bear with me here. There we go. Sorry about that. It's a YouTube video link, so I was trying to get it to move forward. But that is kind of the Amazon a little bit in a nutshell. It is a wide variety of experiences, but you can't do the Amazon unless you're on a specific type of a vessel. So in our case, we have one of the nicest expedition fleets in the industry and the newest one as well. and they're designed to go to unique places like the Amazon that a bigger ship is not able to access. So we have a fleet of three beautiful vessels, and the one that you'll be enjoying for the Amazon is the SH Vega. It just came out in 2022, so it's a brand new ship. It only has 152 passengers, so on expeditions, you don't have a lot of people on board. The ships themselves are smaller, designed to go into remote, intimate places, and honestly, it's a better experience with a smaller number of people. The main difference between an expedition and a traditional cruise is that we do everything in house. We carry our own tour guides, our own transportation, our own equipment, our own lectures. Because the places that we're going to, like the Amazon, there's really no infrastructure there for a big tender or a place for a ship, to dock. So you need to have specialized equipment and a specialized team, and that's what the Vega is designed for. So it's a polar icebreaker as well, which is why it has that pointed hull that you see in the front, but it's also capable of doing incredible tropical destinations as well. So it's a ship that is perfectly built for this type of a place. Now, the nice thing is, as I mentioned earlier, you no longer have to sacrifice any onboard comfort. In fact, it's the other way around. We're considered to be a premium upscale brand, which means we have excellent food, excellent service, really nice public areas, and pretty much a one-to-one crew to guest ratio. So the cuisine on board is fantastic. We put a lot of emphasis on our culinary experiences. And whenever you're sailing in a unique destination, we try to offer culinary options from there as well. We have a main Swan restaurant, which is where you'll come in, to enjoy your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and an outdoor patio grill as well. So weather permitting, you'll be able to dine outdoors. On an itinerary like this probably means that you'll be dining outdoors quite a bit because the weather's going to be really nice. The only time we would close it if it was raining, but otherwise you get a choice of dining indoors or outdoors, a wide variety of cuisine to enjoy, and local options too. Now, all of our ships have a main lounge, which is located right in the center of the ship. It's called the Club Lounge. The Club Lounge really is the heartbeat of our vessels. So, this is where a lot of the action takes place on board. We're a destination focused line, so we're going to get you off the ship a lot to enjoy what's around you. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But there's a lot to do on board as well. So, this main lounge is where you'll likely want to go in the evenings to meet your fellow travelers, to enjoy a cocktail, to listen to our expedition lectures and other entertainment that we bring on board. So if you want to socialize with your fellow travelers, this is probably where you're going to go to. If you want to listen to some of the expedition lectures, you'll spend some time in here as well. And it's also where you can find some food, by the way. If it's between breakfast and lunch or between lunch and dinner, but you're feeling a little peckish and just want a snack, that's where you'll find a wide variety of pastries and orders to enjoy. Now, we're an all-inclusive cruise line, so we take care of everything whenever you come on board. There's no nickel and diming with us at all. So your gratuities, your Wi-Fi package, your basic alcohol package, of course, your excursions, your cuisine, your entertainment, all of that is included in the fare. So when you come on board, your main purpose is just to relax and enjoy your trip. Now, being in the Amazon, you're going to want to explore the Amazon, but there's a lot of things to do on board as well if you're finished with your excursions and want to treat yourself. So there's a spa and a beauty salon. There's a sauna and an open jet jacuzzi. There's a heated pool, and of course, there's a gym if you have a workout routine. You'll notice that all of these areas are facing outwards, and that's important for us. We don't have any areas that are interior. We have no interior staterooms. All of the public areas have windows looking outside, and that's done for a specific purpose. We hug the shore tightly, and in the Amazon, you're always within sight of land. Some of the best animal sightings you're going to get are going to be on the ship because there's no people around. The wildlife is comfortable coming out and, drinking from the Amazon or doing what they do. So it's important for you to be able to see outside. The last time that I was in the Amazon, one of the coolest wildlife experiences I had was seeing an anteater that was climbing a tree. And I didn't even know that they could do that. It was an animal that I wanted to see at some point during the trip. But if you're walking around, there's no guarantee of that. So I was actually in our sauna looking outside, and lo and behold, there was an anteater eating from a tree. And I thought that was really cool. So you're still going to get a lot of great wildlife experiences, even if you're in a public area. So that's why they're facing outwards and have those big windows. They also add a lot of natural sunlight as well, which is always, really nice for ambiance. So where do we explore? We go all over the world. Actually, Swan Hellenic covers a lot of ground for having only three ships. Now, today we're going to focus on the Amazon. However, we go all over the world. So we have one of the most experienced expedition teams in the industry. They have been all over. They're very well experienced in what they do. So they're really going to enhance your experience. We do this itinerary, of course, during the tropical season so that you get the best weather. It's probably when there's the least amount of rainfall as well. The rain season will have passed, but that's good because that means the river's a little bit wider, and this usually means that more wildlife comes, to the banks. But the weather should be very pleasant during your itinerary. Now, I do have a short video to show you. This is about the difference between expedition voyages and traditional cruises. So I'm just going to make sure that I have my sound here. Um, and there we go, perfect. Just making sure I share the sound because sometimes, you may accidentally not be able to do that. So let's go ahead and start playing. Perfect.
Expedition cruising is much more personal and approachable. Our smaller ships allow us to create special relationship with our guests and our shared interests, foster a real sense of camaraderie. These unique moments wouldn't be possible on a larger cruise ship, which is what makes expedition voyages with us so unforgettable. Additionally, expedition ships can access remote places, opening up a whole realm of possibilities.
So that talks what is the differentiator between an expedition and a traditional voyage. And I'm not sure why it just popped up. So I apologize for these technical issues, but I will get them taken care of here. And then we can go ahead and continue. Thank you for your patience. Perfect. So as Sam there just said, really the heart of what we do is our expedition team. So we have an expedition team of 14 members. They come from all over the world. They have a wide variety of backgrounds, and their job is to enhance your experience and to add a lot of context to what you're seeing. So as you can see, they have a wide variety of specialities. They serve as your tour guides. They serve as your Zodiac drivers, and they also host a lot of the lectures on board. So whenever you're not off the ship exploring, they're often in that main lounge that I showed you, having a lecture about something related to your cruise. If you're sailing down the Amazon, then you can bet that at some point during the voyage, they're going to have lectures about different aspects of the wildlife, like jaguars and monkeys, about the Amazon River itself and its relationship with some of the local indigenous communities. It'll cover some of those indigenous communities in depth and another wide variety of topics as well. There'll probably be one on bird life because there's so much of it in the Amazon. So if you want to get educated about this destination while you're visiting it, you'll want to go to some of those lectures. They're usually hosted all throughout the day whenever the excursions aren't taking place. They are also recorded, by the way, and they are broadcast to your staterooms. So if you don't want to go into the main lounge, but you want to listen to it, you can do so from the comfort of your stateroom, or you can listen to it later. And now we come to the highlight, which is the actual itinerary itself. So this is a tremendous Amazon expedition. It really covers a lot of ground for 9 nights. It goes from Fortaleza, a beautiful city, up into Belém, and Belém is considered to be the gateway to the Amazon. So you're going to get a little bit of a nice Brazil coastal experience before going into the Amazon and spending a few days exploring a lot of the little narrows and channels, visiting some of the indigenous communities, seeing a lot of wildlife, and just generally feeling like an explorer in one of the more unique destinations in the world. So you'll spend the first few days coasting along the Brazilian coast and exploring some of the smaller communities and cities in the area. Then you're going to go into the river's vast delta, and you're going to be exploring some different channels. These channels, they vary in width quite a bit. So sometimes, as you saw in that video, you can actually have 4 or 5, 10 Zodiac side by side. And at other times, it's so narrow that you can only do one at a time. So it really depends on where you're going. Our expedition team research all of this thoroughly before you're sailing. They go out in the morning and they just look around and make sure that everything is safe and good to go. And then they make an announcement for everybody to go down and start getting ready. We use Zodiacs. So they're small inflatable rafts that are very tough. They're made out of Teflon. They are able to land in places where tenders cannot. So if you've ever been on a cruise, you've probably been on a tender. They are those bigger, bulkier boats that fit about 40 to 50 people. They're also usually the life rafts on a cruise ship. They're limited to docks. So Those are good in places like Europe because there's docks for them to land. However, they cannot land directly on a beach like we have to do here in the Amazon. So instead, we use the Zodiacs. The Zodiacs will simply slide right up to the beach, and then, with the assistance of the expedition team, everybody gets off and enjoys their trip. So we use those. From the time that the first announcement begins in the day to go down and get ready for your trip to the time that the last person gets off the ship via Zodiac, it is less than 30 minutes, usually only about 20 minutes. It's very short. Another nice thing about expeditions is you never have to wait in line. There's only 150 people on board. They open up both sides of the gangway, so people can get off two at a time. It's a very fast, efficient process. You really get to maximize your time on land, which is really nice. I personally really dislike waiting for my tours when I'm on a ship. You'll never have to do that with Swan Hellenic. So whenever you're on these zodiacs, you're going to visit some really unique ecosystems. Now, the Amazon, you have a picture of it in your head, and a lot of it does look like that lush tropical rainforest, with a lot of rivers channeling through it. But you'll be surprised at the diversity of the Amazon. You're going to see a lot more than that. The formations and some of the communities and the banks, they don't always look alike. So you're going to explore as much of that as possible in order to get the best experience. And then you'll finally finish in Belém, the capital and really the heart of the Amazon. This is where most ships go in and out. And a lot of what you'll see in Belém is centered around, the Amazon culture. It's also a beautiful city in its own right. So definitely take some time to enjoy that at the end of your cruise. So why visit the Amazon? There's a lot of reasons. For one thing, it is just beautiful. It is stunning pretty much all of the time. You see so much. But there's a lot of real bucket list items to cross off here. For one thing, it's the largest river in the world by volume of water, and you definitely see that whenever you're in the Amazon. It is very, very large. It carries about 20% of the world's fresh water, so that's really incredible. That's not tied up into glaciers. And it's very long, too. It's 4,000 miles all across South America, so it's one of the longest rivers in the world. It flows through Peru, Colombia, and Brazil. However, Brazil is where the vast majority of it is. So you are seeing the best part of, and the most accessible part of the Amazon. And of course, it's home to the Amazon rainforest, which is the world's largest tropical rainforest. It has so much wildlife. One thing about the Amazon, you are always going to hear wildlife. You can't not hear it. Now, when you're in your staterooms, that sound is blocked off, of course, so that you can sleep and rest comfortably. But when you're walking around on the decks or whenever you're on a tour, you're going to always hear wildlife around you. There is so much life in the Amazon. You hear the birds and the insects and, random cries of different animals. You hear a lot of monkeys. Howler monkeys are very present. They're very loud, so you'll definitely know them. But there's just so much life. It's pulsing with wildlife, and you'll hear it all of the time. So extraordinary. And it's one of the only major rivers that has no bridges. So you won't see any bridges in the Amazon because the size of the Amazon River really increases and decreases with the rainforest, with the rain. There's a lot of flooding here, and that basically changes the entire shape and length and direction of the river. So you're going at a time when the river is very full. So that's really good because you're going to see more wildlife that way. And it also allows more accessible destinations. When the river has shrunk during its dry season, it does limit where you can go. So you'll want to go there whenever there's more water because that allows you to explore more channels, inlets, and hidden treasures with your zodiacs. And it's home to an incredible variety of wildlife. So you are going to see a ton here. You can't not see wildlife. So you are going to see a lot of it. So some of the highlights, of course, jaguars. If you see those from a safe distance, they're incredible animals. Pink river dolphins are really cool sometimes. Sometimes they will follow your zodiac. They are extraordinarily fearless. So I have not been able to see one, but one of my colleagues has, and they swim right up to the zodiacs. They have no fear of it. They're very safe animals. They're not as aggressive as ocean dolphins, but they are very, very curious and very cool looking animals. You'll see a lot of sloths. You'll see capybaras, otters. You'll see those things. You'll definitely see caimans at some point. They're like alligators in Florida. They're all over the place. So you'll see them, resting in some of the banks or in some of the different, aisles. You may see a lot of snakes or not. However, if you do see them, of course, we keep a safe distance. Our expedition team are very well trained to spot these things, so you can see them with your binoculars. And there's, large animals like anacondas. Some of the world's largest snakes are here as well. So you may or may not see them, but if you do, of course, we do all of this very safely. Expedition team goes through a lot of training and safety protocols. So don't worry about safety. We'll definitely take care of you. But you're going to see a lot of wildlife. And you'll see and you'll hear macaws and parrots as well. So they're extremely loud, but they're also beautiful and very curious animals. So you'll see plenty of those. And tons of monkeys, as I mentioned before. So it's funny with monkeys, you'll probably see them when you're in your zodiacs looking up. So the monkeys like to hang out in the overhanging trees and branches, just calling to each other and jumping from branch to branch. You'll hear them before you see them. But once you see them, you tend to see a lot of them because they travel in large families. So really neat animals. And of course, a lot of smaller, very colorful animals as well, like butterflies and insects, and tons of fish as well. So the Amazon has a lot of fish. Whenever you're looking down into the water, you can often see them kind of swimming alongside your zodiac. So if you're a photographer or if you enjoy wildlife or both, this is a perfect area. The animal density is very thick. So you're pretty much guaranteed to get some really neat sightings. So yeah, let's go ahead and go through the itinerary a little bit. So let's explore some of the highlights, starting with Fortaleza. So this is a large city. It's a nice coastal city. It's the fifth largest city in Brazil. It has both Dutch and Portuguese influence. So it was originally Portuguese, then became a Dutch outpost. The Dutch actually built a lot of the infrastructure that you still see in this town, and then it was retaken by the Portuguese and then renamed Fortaleza. It's literally Portuguese for fortress, so an easy name to remember. But it has combinations of both Dutch and Portuguese influence. There are some beautiful beaches here. The photo that you see is Praia de Futura Beach. So if you want to get a little bit of relaxing beach time before starting your exploration, this is a perfect city to be able to do that. There's a lot of traditional music that you'll hear around the city called foro. There's a lot of theaters. The most famous one is the Teatro José de Alenzar. However, there's a lot of them around the city, and you'll have plenty of time to explore that. And there's a big central market as well. So if you want to grab some local textiles or some local fabrics, the central market is the best place to do it. It's a great place for food as well. And you'll definitely want to try some Brazilian food before your trip. It's absolutely delicious. A lot of it here is seafood orientated. Now, as an all inclusive cruise line, your excursions are included. So, whenever you're on your Zodiacs during the trip, that's all included in your fare. However, if you're in a city or a non expedition destination, your excursions are still included. However, you get the opportunity to pick an excursion and then go on that excursion before your trip. So, we are going to offer a couple of excursions in Fortaleza. You'll have a choice. The most popular one is a city tour. So, you'll get to explore some of the main highlights of the city, and a lot of people like to take the time after that and before the ship departs to do some exploration on their own as well. So if you're going to be in a city with us, you are going to have a choice of excursions, and they are included in your fare as well. But a beautiful city and a great way to start your itinerary. Now you're going to have a sea day, so you'll have a day after that to explore the ship itself, go to a lot of the lectures. Even though we're on a smaller ship, there's still a lot to do on board. These sailings tend to fly by. There's so many activities. They're all voluntary, of course, but especially at the beginning of the trip, most people like to take part in them. So in addition to all of the lectures, we have citizen science programs. So you'll have an opportunity to do active research with the expedition team, and just get to explore the beautiful vessel and enjoy the cuisine as well. For the next couple of days after that, we are in Itaqui in Sao Luis, which is a really neat destination. I've been lucky enough to be here before. So it's a little port town in the Sao Luis province, and there's a UNESCO World Heritage Site here, the Praia Grande Historic City Center. It is absolutely beautiful, old Portuguese influence, extremely colorful, and very pedestrian friendly. There's a lot of colonial homes here and a ton of galleries and museums, as well as options to dine. And then the other main option is the Lençóis Maranhenses National Park. So this is one of the premier national parks of Brazil because it's completely unique. Instead of being coastal, it's known for its stunning white sand dunes, as you can see here in this photo. And in between those dunes and waves, there's a lot of little lagoons as well. So it's very, very unique. If you've ever been to White Sands National Park in New Mexico, it's a little bit like this, but I think this is even more stunning and visually unique. So you get the opportunity to visit the national park, and you get the opportunity to go to the city and enjoy the unique culture. You're here for a couple of days, so you'll have opportunities to do both. And frankly, you're going to want to do both because it's two very different but equally fantastic experiences. And these are some shots of the actual city itself. So as you can see, there's a definite European influence here, and very pedestrian friendly as well. It's easy to walk around and enjoy yourself. The expedition team are still going to be there on the ship to provide more information. So there's a lot of options to enjoy your time here. And we do offer a city tour of Sao Luis, by the way. That is included in the excursions. So if you want to explore the city for a few hours with our team before heading off on your own to explore, you have the opportunity to do that. And then comes the real highlight, which starts on day 7 in Rio Cajari. So you're entering the Amazon. And this is what it kind of looks like before you go in. And as you can see, it's a pretty narrow channel. That's going to increase and decrease throughout your voyage. But I'll tell you what, you get a real thrill just going to the mouth of this river and knowing that you're about to enter it and enter a whole new world. So this is where the expedition really kind of cranks up and you start doing a lot more expedition style itineraries. And you're going to start in Rio Cajari. So Rio Cajari, it's a marine reserve, and it highlights some remarkable ecological diversity. And there's some local communities that are here as well that have lived here for a long time, much more simple way of life. You're going to visit a couple of those communities and get the opportunity to learn about how they live. This area has some beautiful rainforests. It's also got some grasslands. A lot of it is going to be flooded as well, which means that you're going to have access to more destinations. You'll get to learn about things like the Brazil nuts and the acai palms, and you're going to see a lot of wildlife. So you can see a lot of monkeys here, crocodiles, alligators, and caimans are all in this area. So you may see some of those in the water, and you'll see and hear lots of monkeys as well as a ton of birds. One thing about the Amazon is it is full of bird life. So you're going to see and hear it pretty much all the time. Sometimes they even like to fly on the ship and get a little rest on the deck. My theory is that some of the birds have realized that they're safe whenever they're on deck from predators. So sometimes they'll hang out on the deck for days at a time. I've had that happen here. I've had that happen in Antarctica. It's incredible how wildlife just adjusts to, the new things that are around them. So you're going to get a lot of opportunities to see beautiful wildlife. And this is where we take out the zodiacs and we start using them. So as you can see here, that is one of our zodiacs. So small, inflatable, tough rafts with a motor with an engine in the back of it. This allows you to explore little nooks and crannies that would be inaccessible to you otherwise. So this will be your main transportation over the next few days. And then we're going to go deeper and we're going to go to Gurupa, which is a fishing town. It's on the Amazon River Delta. So it's located on an island, and that area converges with the Zinju River. So with the seasonal floods, you're going to get more access, and it's going to look and feel a little bit different because this is an island in the river as opposed to being on the bank itself. So this area is protected, and it allows for endemic birds to nest here, and to get away from all of the predators around them. And you may also see bats in the evenings as well. So if you're looking out at sunset, and by the way, sunrise and sunset in the Amazon is a must-do experience. The wildlife gets very active around this time, so you'll know whenever sunset and sunrise are coming because the wildlife will start getting a lot louder. So you kind of know it's funny. They serve as your natural alarm clocks. You won't hear those in your stateroom, so don't worry about being woken up. However, whenever you go onto your balcony or you're in one of the public areas or up on the deck, you'll hear that the wildlife gets louder. And at dusk, you'll start seeing clouds in the sky, and they're not actually clouds; they're huge colonies of bats. Some of the bats here are significantly larger than what you'll see, so you won't have any problem spotting those clouds. But it is kind of a cool way of knowing that the day is ending and the evening is coming. And you get to see all of that either from the ship or from the shore, which is really neat. After that, you're going to go into Furo. I always butcher this name, so pardon me. Furo do Cujuba. So this is interesting because it's a stream. So when you first enter the Amazon, it's pretty narrow, but then it's going to widen up and it's going to allow you to, kind of spread out a little bit, which you saw in that video earlier. Here it's going to get a lot more narrow again. So you're going to be seeing the shores from both sides on the ship. So more opportunities to see things as well. And this is an area where you're also going to visit some indigenous communities too, learn about that way of life. This is where a lot of different streams and channels in the Amazon tend to kind of converge, and that tends to create a lot of activity. So you'll see a lot here in this area, both human history and wildlife as well. And the area is going to be significantly beautiful. And then after that, you're going to finish by going into the Breves Narrows. So this area is also a naturally protected reserve, and it also is an area that is used by local communities. So the local communities in the Amazon enjoy special privileges that are not available to most of the Brazilian population. So, for example, a lot of these protected reserves that you're going into, the locals are not allowed to fish except for those communities because they have special licenses to do that. So this allows them to preserve their traditional way of life and for you to learn about it as well. So here's just an example of that. So that's a fishing boat. You're going to see some of these throughout your trip. Sometimes the communities will literally swim. They'll go alongside the ship in their canoes because they're interested. They don't really see a lot of visitor traffic in the Amazon. Honestly, once you get past Belém, the amount of people that you'll see in general is just going to plummet. The further into the Amazon you go, the less people you'll see. So these communities, even though, of course, they don't live completely traditionally, they have phones and such, they still tend to have a much more slower, relaxed way of life than what you'll see in the cities. And sometimes they like to check out the ships. So they'll come right alongside and say hello, super, super friendly people. So you'll see that at certain points throughout your trip. And of course, you're going to see tons of wildlife as well. And this is a little bit of an example of what sunset looks like on the Amazon. So this is really my favorite part of the day, sunset and sunrise. Early in the morning, I like to get up and go into the decks and take photos of the sunrises. It's just a little hobby that I've always had. So if you like sunsets and sunrises, this is a completely unique experience just because of the wildlife surrounding and the vividness of the sun as well. There's not a lot of air pollution into the Amazon. Now, there is air pollution in the cities, so you're not going to see sunsets and sunrises as vivid in Belém, for example, or in Fortaleza. However, when you go into the Amazon, it's a whole different story. There are no big cities, so the skies are a lot clearer, and that allows for a much more beautiful sunset and sunrise experience. And then you're going to finish your trip in one of my favorite cities in Brazil. It's actually probably my favorite city, and this is Belém. So Belém it used to be one of South America's most prosperous cities back when it was a trading center. And now it's been reinvented as the gateway to the Amazon. So it's still a thriving port. A lot of people call this tropical Paris because there's some Parisian inspired architectural sites here. And a lot of the buildings that were around during Belém's golden era back in the late 1800s are still here as well, and they're very well preserved. And the other nice thing about Belém is that there's definitely an Amazon inspiration. So this looks different from Fortaleza. Fortaleza, you see a lot more of the colonial Portuguese influence. This you're going to see kind of more of a blend of tropical landscapes and cities. So when you're walking around in the historic centers, like there's tons of mango trees, there's tons of palms and tropical foliage all over the place. So this is one of the better cities in South America as far as including a lot of natural elements into the architectural design. And Latin America's largest open air market is here as well. So if you want to do any last minute shopping before you head off to your next destination, this is a great place to do it. I've been to that market. It's very, very cool. It's bustling, so it's really busy. There's a lot of people, selling their wares and talking. You see a lot of interesting things, a lot of foods and fruits that you do not see in North America. So if you want to shop for some unique souvenirs to take home with you, this is a great place to do it. And we do also offer tours here. So if you want to get a city tour of Belém and learn a little bit more about the city from a historical perspective before exploring it on your own, you'll have the opportunity to do that as well. So yeah, that's kind of an overview of the itinerary. It's very well rounded. It gives you some nice city experiences, but the heart of the trip is the expeditions into the Amazon itself. You're going to see a ton of great wildlife. You're going to visit those communities. You're going to see a lot of beautiful foliage as well. So the balcony pricing is right here, 8,408 per person. And the sailing date is from April 9th to 18th, 2028. So this is a great time to go. It's not as warm as it is during the summer. It gets very hot here during the summer. However, if you're there in the spring, the weather's going to be a lot nicer, and you're going to be in port every single day. So you're going to have every single day, except for two. You have two sea days, but they are both at the beginning of your voyage. So after that, it is nothing but ports. So you get in a ton of activities. And if you have any questions about payment conditions or anything related to the cruise, please contact Amanda. And if Amanda doesn't have the answer, she can contact me. We're in communication. If I don't have the answer, I will find the person that will. So ask a lot of questions. We want you to be prepared for your voyage before you begin. But I will just tell you that having done this on a cruise ship, it is very well worth doing. The ship that I went on had about 400 passengers, so it was significantly larger than what Swan Hellenic is. This is an even better experience. The ship is smaller, it's more maneuverable, it's designed for these remote destinations. The expedition team on Swan Hellenic is very large for the size of the ship. Normally, it's something like a 1 for 14 or 1 for 16, which means one expedition person for every 14 to 16 passengers. Ours is only a 1 for 8. So we have a huge team for the size of the ship. And that means more people available to give you more tours, to do more lectures. So the immersive aspect is absolutely fantastic as well. Now, we have the pricing that I'm giving you here is for balcony deck 5. So this is great because the further up that you go on the ship, the better view you're going to get. Where, how important this is depends on where you are. If you have a lot of sea days, it doesn't make a huge difference. This is a different situation because you can always see the shore from the ship. The further up you are, the better a panoramic view that you get. So you're going to want to be on deck 5 as opposed to something a little lower. Now, you can do that if you want to, but I recommend going up to balcony 5, which is what Amanda has available for you, because the panoramic views are fantastic. So those sunsets and sunrises I keep talking about because I think they're incredible. You don't have to go up on deck to see those. You're having a balcony. That balcony is where you're going to spend a lot of your time. I personally love getting room service at least once during my cruise on the balcony, especially if there's something really cool to see. The captain will just stop the ship. So the nice thing with us is an expedition and is an adventure. So even though we have the itinerary that I just showed you, we're very maneuverable as well and flexible, especially once you're in the Amazon. These destinations really are not that far apart. So we bake in some extra time. If there's something cool to see, the captain will just go there. They want you to have the best experience possible. They're not so much about, having to stick to logistics detail by detail. As long as we can do it safely, the captain will pivot to give you a better experience. So at least once during your cruise, during dinner time, there's going to be something great to see. I like to go up to my balcony and I like to order room service and just kind of take a look at it. So definitely have that experience if you decide to join us. And then you have all the way until 120 days before the trip to make your payment. So this is not until 2028. So you've got a lot of time to consider your trip. However, these do tend to sell out, to be honest with you, because there's not a ton of options going into the Amazon like we do. So if you are interested in the sailing, my recommendation would just be to secure the deposit sooner than later, just because later on next year or so, there's a good chance that the ship is going to sell out. So we wouldn't want you to miss the trip. We only do a couple of these per year, and this is the only itinerary of its kind that we do in the calendar year. So if you want to join us, we'd love to have you with us. Um, and I think I have just a couple of more things. So a lot of stateroom amenities. This is just a list of things that you're going to get in your stateroom during your trip. And there's a wide variety of things. It's all inclusive, of course. We have beautiful balcony rooms. So these balcony rooms, they're 269 square feet. Whenever you walk into the room, there's a walk-in closet and your restroom and shower on each side of you in the hallway. Then you walk into your bedroom. And then after that, there is a living room. And then you have the balcony after that. Now, there are those big curtains you see there. So if you want to block off the area between the living room and the bedroom, you can certainly do that. The beds can all be turned from doubles to singles as well. So, you can make your own bedding arrangements. Just let us know what you want. And of course, our staff will do that before you get on board. And there are adjoining staterooms as well. So if there are families traveling or people who just want to be placed next to each other, we can make that happen as well. We do have adjoining staterooms. And if you were more interested in a suite, the suites are significantly larger. They're over 400 square feet, and they have a different configuration. Just reach out to Amanda, and she can give you pricing and availability for those. It depends on where in the ship it is. But the configuration is that you have a separate bedroom, which you can see there on the first photo. And then you have the living room, which you can see there. There's also a pull-out couch here, by the way. So if you're a family of 4, which is a pretty common group that we get, you may want to consider a suite just because you'll have more space, and that couch does turn into a pull-out couch. The other nice feature that we have are fireplaces. So we're one of the only cruise lines in the industry that includes fireplaces in our suites, and it adds a really nice ambiance. So they're electrical, of course, and they do give off a little bit of heat, but their primary purpose is for you to, have this nice ambiance and to welcome you back into the room. And it really is quite beautiful, especially in the evenings. So if you are in a suite, take advantage of that fireplace. And my last slide here before we open it up for Q&A is Cruise Critic. So most of you are probably not familiar with Swan Hellenic, and if you are, fantastic, thank you. And I can give you more information about us as a brand. However, if you're not familiar with us and you want to do a little bit more research, we invite you to do that. So Cruise Critic is the most popular review website. We are the highest rated expedition cruise line on Cruise Critic with a 4.7 out of 5, which is really, really high. So to read some of the reviews from our former guests, and they can give you more information about the experience from their perspective. you'll find that overwhelmingly people really enjoy it. We have a huge retention rate. Over half of our guests end up coming back. So people enjoy the experience. They particularly talk about the quality of the expedition team and the excursions, which for the Amazon is going to be important. The really good food, the great service, and the beautiful ships that are brand new, and other things as well. So if you have some time, please review go on Cruise Critic and take a look at some of the reviews. And I think you'll find that most people really enjoy the Swan Hellenic experience. Myself personally, I consider myself a child of expeditions, even though I've worked on larger ships. I would say that Swan Hellenic is some of the nicest expedition ships in the industry. That's me thinking personally because I love to go on these cruises as a passenger. It's even converted my wife, who would never touch an expedition until she went on one, and now, of course, she wants to go on them more than I do. So this style of travel gets really addicting, especially if you love the educational, immersive aspect of what we do. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you. I know that was a lot of information, so I appreciate your patience, and I hope that you learned something about the itinerary as well. I'd like to open up the floor for questions. So if you've got any questions, let me know.
Thank you so much, Preston. I can tell you I've been getting some messages along the way via text, and I have some questions for you. One of them is for several of our explorers who maybe have a little bit of mobility issues. I know that we're taking Zodiac, so I personally can attest to knowing the mobility constraints might be a little bit difficult for some people. But can you tell us a little bit about the mobility level on the excursions? Is there a range on day to day, what the activity level is? And is it a handicap accessible cruise? Is it something that if somebody needed walking sticks to go with, could they go on it? Tell us a little bit about that.
Great question. So our general rule of thumb for an expedition is that if you can get in and out of a bathtub, you can do an expedition. The activity is not overly strenuous at all. So the nice thing is with the Amazon is unlike a destination like an Antarctica or an Arctic, you're not out in the open ocean. So the water tends to be much, much smoother, which makes getting on and off the Zodiac a lot easier. We are fully ADA compliant, by the way. So yes, we're very well equipped to work with guests who have mobility issues. Our expedition staff are all trained in that as well. Every single expedition cruise always has passengers who have some kind of a mobility challenge, and we work with those guests and make their experience as enjoyable as possible. But basically, you don't need to go on any strenuous activities. I would consider them moderate to easy to be on. Because the water is smooth, getting on and off the Zodiac is easy. We have a huge expedition team. One of those reasons is for safety. So whenever you're getting on and off, there are several expedition members that are right there on the gangway with you, plus, of course, a person driving the Zodiac. They teach you how to do the unique handshake, or the shank, the unique hold so that you can get on and off the Zodiac safely. So all of that is done, with a lot of care. As far as the excursions themselves, they are fairly easy on this itinerary. You're not going to be climbing up the side of any mountains. So most of them involve walking through, different walking paths. So those tend to be fairly moderate. There's not a ton of up and down. And the Zodiac excursions themselves, because sometimes the excursions are done on the Zodiacs, we'll visit little inlets and lagoons and such. Of course, mobility is not an issue with those at all. So I would say that if you do have any mobility issues, don't let that discourage you, especially for an itinerary on the Amazon, because they are not that difficult. And the ships are perfectly equipped to handle all of that as well. We have a very large medical department for the size of our ship. We have a doctor and 3 nurses. So if anything happens during the cruise, of course, we're very well equipped to handle that. The nice thing is the Amazon is not overly far from major cities and hospitals, so we can also handle that as well. But as far as your day to day, not very strenuous, and unless you can't walk at all, you should be able to enjoy it.
Very good. Thank you so much for that answer. My next question that I was requested to find out is about tipping and gratuities. I know that Swan Hellenic is all included, but can you go over, are the expedition guides tips included, the daily tours? Will you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So all gratuities are included. So you don't have to worry about tipping at all. So normally the gratuities are included into the price, and then they're actually split between all of the crew members. So you don't have to worry about anybody, getting shafted. They're split between everybody. There's a system on board that ensures that everybody gets gratuities. If you want to donate any additional gratuities, because even though they're included, some people would just like to, which is very kind of them. There's an envelope in the stateroom. You can put whatever you feel is appropriate in there, and then there's an anonymous box at the service desk. So if you do want to add anything extra, it is certainly not required. The crew are very well handled. One really nice thing about Swan Hellenic is we actually have a reputation for being one of the best paying cruise lines in the expedition space, and very generous with the gratuities as well. But if you do want to give anything extra, that's how you would do it. But it is all included for every excursion and every service that you're going to have, so you don't have to worry about that at all.
Excellent. Thank you. The next thing also goes down the all-included path. The alcohol that's included, is it beer and wine at lunch and dinner? Is it any time if we're coming back from an excursion, can we have a whiskey sour or a Mai Tai cocktail if we want to, or specialty coffees as well?
So that's a great question, and the great answer I can give is that it's at any time. So yes, no, and it's also for spirits, by the way. So we have a basic alcohol package, which is included in your fare, and then there is an elevated alcohol package. Now that being said, that's like your Grey Goose and Blue Labels, and really premium brands. The basic package actually is really comprehensive, in my opinion, and you can enjoy that at any time. I mean, I think probably the most popular time on board for a cocktail is after your second excursion. So we normally try to do multiple excursions per day if we can, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. The most popular time that I've seen people go to the bar is after the second excursion, kind of toasting themselves for a day well done before dinner. So anytime, and that also goes for specialty coffees as well. We don't have a dedicated coffee section on board. However, we have several areas where there are baristas, and they can definitely make a specialty coffee for you. So yeah, no additional charges for any of that, and anytime.
Excellent. And the last question about the all-included segment is about the internet service. Internet is included. Is it basic internet? Is there upgraded packages if people were coming on board who were maybe still working and needed the ability to stream a little bit better Wi-Fi? Tell us about your internet packages.
So we do have a basic internet package, which is included in your fare. The basic is honestly fine if you're sending emails or doing your basic remote work. I mean, I work remotely when I'm on board. I've never had a problem with emails and things of that nature. I can usually stream as well. Now, if you are streaming to social media, for example, you may want to consider the upgraded package. Most of this itinerary, honestly, the internet's not bad at all, except for a few days in the middle of the Amazon. It's going to slow down a little bit from there. It'll still work, of course. But if you want to stream live on social media, you may want to consider an upgrade to the Gold Wi-Fi package, because the Gold Wi-Fi package is a little bit faster. I think it's about twice the bandwidth of the basic package, and that'll allow you to do streaming. We do have a Platinum package, and it's actually extremely fast. And we use Starlink, by the way. That one is very few people take that just because if you're taking that, then you need faster internet at all times. Yeah, but the Gold is fine for streaming. Like if you want to watch a film in the evening or something like that, or download something to listen or watch, the Gold is normally just fine for that. As far as working remotely, your basic Wi-Fi package is going to be fine for that.
Lovely. And I have one last question, and you may or may not know the answer to this because I'm putting you on the spot for it. Are visas necessary on this itinerary? And is there any other kind of paperwork that we would need to get done before going on this itinerary?
Great question. And I would have to ask my reservation team for the details. I do believe that there are visas required for Brazil. There used to be when I was sailing down here. Our reservations team will help you with all of that. They are our res team. Honestly, I can't say enough good things about them. They're one of the best teams that I've encountered. They provide comprehensive instructions on how to do all of that. So you'll have all that information well before the sailing. They provide all of that to you pretty much as soon as you make your deposit. And they'll also reinforce that consistently. So if you have not done that work yet, if you haven't gotten the visa or any other things that you need, they are very good about reminding you, pretty much constantly, especially as you get closer. Because the last thing that we don't want is for you to have a problem when you get there. So the answer is yes, and our reservations team will help you take care of that.
Very good. Wonderful. Does anybody else, I know you talked about accessibility being good, but do you accept wheelchair on any of the tours or any land tours? I realize the boat landings wouldn't be feasible. So wheelchair accessibility specifically on Zodiacs.
So it is. So funny thing is, Zodiacs can take wheelchairs. However, on this itinerary, I don't believe you'd be able to do that very often because honestly, the places that you're visiting are not really, they're not paved. They're not really suited for wheelchairs. So I'm sure the expeditions would be willing to try it. I've actually seen wheelchairs get loaded on Zodiacs before, but that was relatively flat space in Antarctica. And here, bear in mind that there's a lot of plants and stuff on the ground. It's probably not going to be the best experience for a wheelchair. Now, the cities are no problem, by the way. So anytime we're in a city, of course, wheelchair accessibility is very easy. The ships themselves are fully wheelchair accessible, wide hallways. You won't have any problem getting around in a wheelchair. I just don't recommend it for the excursions unless you just don't have any other choice, just because, especially in the heart of the Amazon, you're walking on a lot of land that's, a little bit more damp and has a lot of the Amazon is just covered in ferns like crazy. So it makes wheelchairing around a little bit challenging. The cities, it won't be a problem at all.
And that's actually my mom asking that question because my dad would really like to go on this trip.
You
So,
should. It's a lot of fun.
yeah.
But mobility is something that we're well prepared for. So they will be able to provide them a great experience. Now, if your client is in a wheelchair all the time, then they may be a bit limited in what they can do in the middle of the excursion. So more likely they'll be relaxing by the shore more often than going on the actual tours. The tours are not intensive as well, of course, but sometimes they require, walking through the jungle and stuff like that. One thing about our excursions is that we're not necessarily stuck doing one activity all the time, like you have to be here and here at this time. If we're able to offer multiple things to do on our Zodiac excursions, we'll offer those. So oftentimes, a few expedition members will stay by shore to watch the Zodiacs, but also to look after people who decide not to go on the actual hike, if that makes sense. So if they want to get off the ship and they want to explore the area, but they don't really want to go trekking with the rest of the group, we always have some expedition members that are left behind, to allow you to do that safely. So there's a variety of activity levels on the different excursions. So it really just depends on what you want to do that day.
I really love this because it feels like a hybrid from regular cruising and expedition cruising from the ability standpoint. Like Antarctica, you're out in the middle of nowhere. There's no, human towns around or anything like that. And you have to be able to follow with the expedition guides and be able to go on all of the things. This is a little nice happy medium. So I appreciate that for our hybrid clients who maybe like your wife are not sure that they were interested in going on expedition yet, but it's potential. It's a nice happy medium, I think.
I
Well,
I agree, and I think if you're somebody who is interested in an expedition experience, and I'm completely biased, so I love this type of cruising. But if you've never done it before and you want to try something else, something that's a little bit more moderate than in Antarctica, this is a perfect itinerary to do that because you're doing an expedition. Make no mistake, you're going to an incredible place. You're getting all the components of an expedition, indigenous communities and wildlife and exploration and all that good stuff. But you're not in an Antarctica level of isolation. You're going to be visiting some beautiful cities. You're going to see, local people almost every day. And the Amazon, even though it's a huge, huge river, I mean, it's not quite the vastness of the Arctic tundra. So you're not going to get overwhelmed by the geography. So this is a great first time expedition cruise. And hopefully you'll go on it and you'll enjoy it and you'll want to do something else. Be ready for, a polar trip or something. But this is a popular, ideal first time expedition for a lot of people. And the other thing, it's closer to home than a lot of expedition destinations as well. So the accessibility and that is definitely a factor too.
lovely. And then I have one last question for you, and it has to do with technology again. Is there an app that we should be following along and doing everything with, or do we book and it's pleasant? We don't have to schedule dinners and schedule excursions and everything through an app. Tell us a little bit about the from the time of booking to the time of travel experience technology wise.
So once you make your deposit with Amanda, you will be sent an email to just fill out the rest of your information. So we do have a passenger portal, and you'll get that, and that will give you clear instructions on what to do. Basically, it will give you instructions on how to create an account. And once you log into your passenger portal, it'll ask you to fill out your other information, dietary requirements and emergency contact and all that good stuff. And then in that portal, you can start making your arrangements on board, or you can just get more previews of what you're going to do. So our page on the website, of course, can give you that as well. But this goes much more into depth, and it also allows you to choose the things that you want to do as well. And if you want to pull out documents or look at other photos and media, you can do it from that little passenger portal as well. So you'll be sent that after you make your deposit, and then that's where you kind of go to kind of keep track of everything. If you're missing any vital information that you need, our reservations team will let you know well ahead of time about that.
Lovely. One of the question is that you said 2 days at sea, but the itinerary says there's three. Was it just a misspeaking, or is there an extra day it, that we're not thinking of?
Yes, that was my mistake. So day 2 and day 5 and 6 are at sea. I have the itinerary right here on the side. So I was thinking of day 5 and 6 specifically. So yes. So day 1, of course, is Fortaleza. Day 2 is the sea day. 3 and 4 are in Itaki because it's a large destination. And then 5 and 6 is when you're going basically from the coast down to the mouth of the Amazon. So it was a mistake on my part. I apologize. I was thinking specifically of day 5 and 6. And then after that, there's no more sea days. The rest of the days are exploring the Amazon or in port.
Lovely. Is there an opportunity for outdoor evening dining, or are the bugs too overwhelming?
We try to guard against the bugs. You'll have the opportunity to sit down outdoors, especially whenever you're closer to the coast. The bugs tend to be not as big of a factor. Now, the deeper into the Amazon you'll go, you'll see more of them. But if you're going to enjoy outdoor dining, my recommendation would be to do it more towards the beginning or towards the end of your sailing. Because if you're by the coast, it tends not to be any not big as a problem. It's a little cooler by the coast as well, and that tends to also calm down the bugs.
And is there an outdoor walking track?
There is, yes. So yeah, if you want to
Lovely.
power walk or jog in the morning, yes, you can do that.
Excellent. So one of the things, I know several of our explorers have been on group trips with me before, or have planned through Roseborough Travel. And then I see some new names on here, so I'm super excited to see some new explorers joining this webinar and getting to know a little bit more about this trip and itinerary. At Roseborough Travel, we work directly with Swan Hellenic. We hold our group space well in advance so that we can lock in more affordable and better prices, and be able to get extra deals and incentives for you all. Additional to that, once you join the tour and itinerary with us through Roseborough Travel, we add you to an email list that you then start receiving once a month, little updates along the way, just telling you about each destination, getting you some research driven things to know before you go. And then about a month before departure, we start giving you a lot more information about departure. We remind you about final payment well in advance and everything as well. But we start talking a lot more about departure activities. We also do a document party. In office, if you are local, we do a document party where you pick up your vouchers or information. We make a little book for you. Our team focuses on putting together a physical packet for you, making sure that you have everything that you could need to go before you go. And then we try to all get on the same flights if we can. If you do not want to travel with the rest of the group on the same flight because you have miles or vouchers on a different airline, that's also perfectly fine. But if you do want traveling companions kind of on the same flight, getting excited for the same itinerary, we do flights together as well. And then we travel together and do as much or as little together as you would like. So it's always a great time to join a group. Again, several people who are on this call have been on groups with us, and I know it's a great time, but some of you haven't, and I wanted to share a little bit about that. And then we have a question about, yes, can we sit together as a group for dinner? Is dining available for a larger group?
Yes, there is. We can make that arrangement ahead of time.
Excellent. All right. If there's no other questions, we are happy to help you out. Anna has been assisting in getting some quotes out because we've had several of you asking to hold a cabin before this presentation even. So if you are ready to join, want to see better pricing and an idea of what kind of cabin you would want to select, we're happy to help you out. Give us a call at the office at Roseborough Travel, and we will look forward to seeing you and talking to you. And the Amazon cruise is going to come up sooner than we know it. So I'm excited. Thank you so much, Preston. Thank you, all explorers, for joining us today. And we look forward to working with you.
Thank you all so much, and looking to see you on board. So thank you.
Excellent. Bye, everyone.